to take part in cash out. It goes with the short code *439#, and for the many times that we're here, it also means that for TV3 New Day, you have to dial *439#, make it your most stable dial-in short code. So you choose option 2. Subsequently, after you've gotten a prompt, you also increase the number of tickets you have. It enables you to have your numbers replicated on the electronic dashboard. I say that always. And when we do the draws, you see with the red background with the numbers moving, it's not as if that it is done by us. It is electronically generated. So we have no clue which number will be winning. But you only will certainly have a clue and know that your sure bet of being lucky is by increasing the number of the stakes and then increasing the number of tickets. For those of you who have joined us on social media, we're grateful, and you make us relevant. And so very quickly, we'll acknowledge a couple of you before we acknowledge our guests. It's always very important. It's not as if the guests are also not, but we're all having a comprehensive conversation. And you know that just about 16 hours after the budget, which is the first of the John Mahama Nana Jeno Pokuagyemang-led government by Dr. Kessié Latto-Forson, we can't do anything else but to talk about it, but also look at the key thematic areas, what has got to give, what sacrifices have been made, and then how austere this is, but how also this could encourage sectors to be able to be relevant and grow. It's very critical. And so let me first acknowledge a couple of you already. I see Evans Ibn Samba. Xelis Dwayne, who lives in the UK, has also joined us. I see Yesuto as well, Obama, and Ni Jase Nani. Good morning to you as well. And Ni Atukwe Ovane Onukpa, wishing you all the best for the day. And for all the things that we have to do, please, we encourage you to share the stream. Let's have some great conversations this month. Very comprehensive. Remember, Sami Jemfi will be coming on in the next 2 hours as well, 1.5 hours. And so we're having some comprehensive discussions with him on many other relevant subjects. But let me just introduce our guest for today in the studio. Dr. Joshua Jebuntie Zato is here, was here last week. I love him. If Shadrach can continuously have him here with me every week, I'll be happy. Dr. Zato, how are you?
I'm fine.
I love your conversation.
Thank you,
very knowledgeable.
And I like your combinations, kind
yeah,
of.
Yeah, we're in Ghana month. Yeah. So this one is by Elizabeth, okay, who sews for me, okay, in Tema. Okay. So you can reach Elizabeth.
Can you get her to get me one too, so that I can also wait here?
Oh yeah, certainly, certainly.
I don't have to pay, right?
No, you pay. That's why you look good. You have money. No, I went through.
I'm just a point.
I went through your.
Ask Prof.
Everybody should.
Actually, he's the business.
Dr. Zata, I went through your profile. You studied in Canada as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
and the stipend was more than a professor's salary.
Yeah.
Here.
So look, we are breaking the conversations down this morning. Make sure you share the stream as many times as you can. This is TV3 New Day. Raffle is already, Sagacity is already, Xelis Dwayne says, so please make sure you share the stream. And Dr. Jebuntie Zato is here, and I know he's an expert, even though he is with the political science department, but has expertise in governance, public policy analysis, does a lot when it comes to management reforms, public administration, so how states agencies are managed, etc. And I know that he always will have a mind on why people are appointed to state agencies and then they don't tend to grow them. And then we also have seated here from the same University of Ghana, but also does many things relevantly, not only consultancy, but also teaching at the University of Ghana Business School, foremostly, Professor Godfrey Bokping, also studied in Asia as well, specifically Osaka University. So, Charlie, a lot of brains right here, and knows how, you know, the paradigm shift has been for the Asian countries, how now they seem to be giving the Western countries a pushback. You see the reforms by Donald Trump and his geopolitical position so far. He's also a finance person, an economist, has expertise in accounting everything that we can talk about, industry, academia. He's here. Professor Bokwe, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You don't come here usually. You're always on Zoom. So thank you for coming and sacrificing your time. And then also a Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, formerly used to be a practitioner right here. And so as a journalist, but now a mainstream politician, but still a journalist nonetheless. And Alhassan Sohiyini is also a member of parliament for Tamale. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
Great, bro. And then also, Ato Forsen is the finance minister. He's the one who gave the address. But I like my summarizer, my discoverer discovery of the year 2024. Apparently, I didn't know that he was with the MPP until he moved to the Movement for Change. And so we all discovered him. So Solomon Owusu is right here. Solomon Owusu. He's also an entrepreneur. So Charlie, after this, he has to sit in his four-wheel drive and go and hustle in the field. But he's a politician. Yeah. and so whatever is in the budget that doesn't create jobs,
you have to
he'll criticize. And I tell you, I know, right? And you can follow us on social media. So we have Facebook, we have X or Twitter. We also have we also have YouTube. So make sure that so Twitter or X, and then the one that is making all the way. So where Solomon is very popular, the TikTok. I'm always sleeping on TikTok 24/7. So Solomon also, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic guy. Make sure you share the stream. Let's have some great conversations. We're going to make it. Agongo Roger says, Papa Ro, good morning to you as well. Rasko Toka, it's been a long time I've said hi. Mani Nimani, they say I'm always mentioning your name. Emmanuel Kaleji as well. Solo. Marcel also has joined us. But let's take you through some numbers. Let's not bore you with the insert. So take you through some statistics and then we'll start a conversation. All right. And so these are what the Finance Minister, Kisela Toforsen, the government of John Dramani Mahama, the Vice President as well, Nana Jeno Pokuajiman, are saying they're going to do with our finances this year. So we'll take you through the slides, and then you'll get to know where we are. So far, they've announced that total allocation for the sectors in excess 43 billion. So everybody is going to get something. Well, if you're not getting something before, it also means that the promises John Mahama, the president, as well as Nana Jonopokuajiman, including Soheyini right here and the rest of everybody else in the NDC were promising. The Big Push program was supposed to have been 10 billion. They've done an allocation of, I know, 800 million. I don't know about this. Yeah, 800 million. Yeah. So forgive us. Billion. Yeah. But the Big Push is 13 billion. 13 billion, okay? And then we have the NHIS, so at least for all my friends who work in the sector, Dr. Salifu Combat in Boku, good morning to you. One of the service Boku Presbyterian Hospital Combat Pharmacy, 9 billion in excess. District Assembly Common Fund, you know, and this one, 7 billion. Let's move on and see what we can do. So the free SHS, the commitment, what the government says is dedicated funding, 3.5 billion. You know that so far, the 5.7 million beneficiaries at the time, and the expenditure that was pegged was in excess of 9 billion. Of course, the former education minister then came to revise the figure following, it looks like, fact-checking. So in excess of 3.7 or either 9 million beneficiaries instead. And we know the budget of the last and what the actuals were, we're told that 9.9 billion had been spent on that policy. Now, no academic fee policy is one of the reasons why we brought Professor Bokpin here. Sorry for always reducing your... So 499, I shouldn't do that. I forgive you. I forgive myself. And then I apologize. 499. 499 million. Now, this policy, the explanation, I won't say has been murky, but now that the government is in play, they'll better explain it well. So for first years, they said a component of the fees for you first years will be taken off. What exactly? They say the academic user facility, is that it? So they are devoting 499. We generate the revenue, and then we'll be able to do the free textbooks, 564 million. The school feeding program, so they've increased, gotten 1.7 billion allocation. Okay, now let's come back to the studio. And let me start with the man who is in government. He communicates well because he's a communicator by frontal expertise, so it makes him a good politician. But when you take a look at these, Alhassan Sohiyini, what does it tell you, let's say, in 5 thematic areas is the intention of the government, your government? Alassane Sohiyini.
Well, thank you very much, Roland. Good morning to my colleagues around the table and the viewers as well, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. Roland, I think it is important that we begin this conversation, and especially for me, by congratulating the team at the Finance Ministry that helped the Minister of Finance to put the budget statement that was presented yesterday together. I think they have together done a fantastic job. The presentation yesterday was easy to follow and not boring and not too long and not too verbose. It was straight to the point, and I think that all those who managed to achieve that feat deserve some commendation. And it has also provided the hope that it was meant to provide. I mean, because it was simple to follow, I think many people saw some of the things that they were expecting to hear, captured in the budget. And that has provided the necessary hope that is required to turn the economy around, to reset the economy. You have to understand that the theme of the John Mahama government has always been about resetting the country and resetting our economy and resetting our governance and doing things differently and doing them better. And I think in many ways than one, the finance minister came across as a man who is going to lead the reset agenda when it comes to the economy in a good way. Roland, first of all, I was excited as a young Ghanaian that this budget sought to erase the notion that is fast gaining ground in relation to what many of our young people think of politicians, that we will say the sweet and palatable things during campaign without really meaning those things, but because we think they will win us votes, and that when we win power as politicians, we renegotiate these campaign promises. Now, this budget sought to create the difference, that there are some group of politicians, like His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, who will promise the things they are committed to doing and implementing. I mean, for example, when we promised that we were going to create a women development bank, some thought that, well, it was just politically palatable, and perhaps when we come, we'll renegotiate it. It was captured in the budget, and provision is made for it. When we talked about abolishing betting tax, e-levy, some wondered if it was not just the usual political talk, and that we will come and tell them that the country is so indebted and we didn't know the extent of the damage, and so we will need some time to introduce these things. No, we didn't have to renegotiate that. It was actually intended to be implemented, and it has actually been implemented. It's going to be abolished. The finance minister has indicated that by Wednesday, those bills will be brought to Parliament, and those levies will be scrapped. You come to look at the apprenticeship program. Some people were like, oh, this sounds too sweet. Are you sure you can really get the funding for it? It has been catered for. I mean, many other promises. Those are. So I'm saying that for me,
and they're genuine concerns.
Exactly. And so I'm saying that if we had not addressed those issues, we would have been depleting the confidence that people, are fast losing in politicians and in our democracy. So when I saw all those things being captured, because these were key issues during the campaign, and so you want to, come to government and actually show commitment to implementing those things. So I was very excited about that. Now you also look at the humane nature of this budget. I mean, for the first time, you have flood victims of the Akosombo spillage being provided for. You have the Ketu shoreline, problems being catered for. I mean, you have a situation where education is no longer going to be about politics and about pass rates and about it's going to really be what it is meant to do. Acquisition of knowledge. You see, in the past,
because not to just say anything, but interject to here. The refrain during the campaign was the teacher training allowances. And then also allowances paid for the training colleges, whether it's for nursing, etc., were going to be perhaps maybe submerged or taken over by the student loan scheme. And so once you have a trust that's available, then it means that the allocation should have been direct in relation to what the intended campaign policy was.
So, Roland, let me tell you something. Yes, you are right. But our colleagues on the opposite side have always presented some of these ideas as if they were insensitive. But let me bring it home for you to understand why, you know, these things are key to the development of education. The difference between the MPP and the NDC when it comes to free SHS has always been about how to implement it in a qualitative manner. That has always been the difference. For them, it has always been about ticking a box and making political capital out of it. The NDC has always been about pragmatism and about quality. And clearly, when you look at the provisions in this budget, you see capitation grant being increased. You see school feeding grant being increased. You see the thoughtful decision to provide textbooks for the different categories of students. You see the teacher training allowance still being catered for. Why? Because our proposal was not to insensitively scrap it, but to replace it with an enhanced student loan trust fund. And so if you have a situation where you have not enhanced the student loan trust fund, it only makes sense to still maintain the allowance until you do that. Absolutely. It is something that the government is committed to doing. So, but if you compare it to the past, you notice that in the past, the focus was all about passing exams. So instead of textbooks being prioritized, you had past questions being prioritized, mathematical sets being prioritized, and lots of money spent in that direction. When education is supposed to be more than just passing exams, it's about acquisition of knowledge. So when you have the different categories of students being provided with textbooks, then you know that this is a government that is not just about the politicking, but more about the national development.
I gave you 8 minutes, so I'll do all my interjection, everything with Dr. Zato in a minute. I would not understand, for example, if I am an ordinary citizen, but also a journalist supposed to do inquisitions and ask questions, where a former finance minister describes a budget that, of course, is said to be more pro-poor, austere, but also makes allocations for areas where there could be investment for entrepreneurs to create the space for them to grow as a Sakawa budget. Would you say it is a justified description or not, based on your own observation about this whole document that has been presented to us?
Thank you, Roland, and good morning to my panelists. I just realized that we're both 2003 colleagues from Legon. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Professor, what page?
You were not in the business school.
No. I was in this political science.
Political science.
Yes. So I was.
That's down there.
Yes.
Down there.
Closer to the bush.
Yes.
So we are in the city.
It's the botanical garden, not bush. Botanical garden.
Closer to the botanical garden.
Not bush.
The green.
Very important.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start by saying to the good people of Tumu Sala is let me get a Madiapana. How
do we respond to that? All the
you can just say over CNN. Let's come to, you see, as I said, I am not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial expert.
I love it that you are a policy analyst.
Exactly. So I want to see this from a policy perspective. I would like to see this budget as a policy document. The thing about budgets are that budgets tell you the intentions of people. A budget is a value document. It tells you where a president, for that matter, or a government intends to put their values, to prioritize things. It's when you see it like that, that you then understand that budget. But remember, in some democracies, some places, a budget is just an intention. The Congress or the legislature can deny you whatever you want because they have the power of the purse. So they decide where to give you or not. But it still doesn't matter. It's a president saying that this is what I value, this is what I prioritize, this is what I put there. So before that, I want to put within this particular context that we had here last week. I said something last week here that the budget that is going to play is likely going to what I call essentially a chokopuru kutopuru budget. Essentially, chokopuru kutopuru could simply mean robbing people to pay Paul or cutting here to get bets. The idea is that budgets are like that. You are trying to manage something, you are trying to take something from here to come and put here.
What do you say? Chokopuru
Kutopuru.
Okay,
Puru is like, you know these leather bags that people hold, people use? If one part is torn, then you likely go and cut another leather part to come and fix the part. So it's chokopuru kutopuru budget.
But Dr. Zato, essentially, in making allocations and projections for expenditure, that's what you do.
Yes,
you make sure.
So I wasn't wrong then.
Something has got to.
So I wasn't wrong to say it was a chokopuru kutopuru budget.
No, nobody said you were wrong.
Okay, thank you. So I describe
your explanation.
So I describe it better in my language. I describe it better in the Sisala language. Thank you. Let's go for one thing. Before this budget, there was this expectation. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, described Ghana, the economy, as criminally managed. He said the economy was criminally badly managed.
Did you listen to the finance minister?
The finance minister said the economy
in excess of billions owed contractors, etc.
They said all
and in finance and accounting, liabilities that have not been accounted for, not properly managed in award of contracts, etc. Being liabilities for which we're going to have overhangs on the government expenditure. You don't think it's problematic, Dr. Zato? So
thank you. So he said that this economy, that the economy you've explained was criminally managed, badly managed, wrongly managed. Everything was said. The same finance minister has now told us that criminally managed economy, that mismanaged economy, that bad economy grew at 5.7% GDP. That it was criminally managed, it was so bad, so wrong. But despite all that, in fact, despite everything you've said, that same budget grew at 5.7%. That is what the finance minister said. Then the same finance minister said, under the current administration, where they will not repeat the same mistakes, where they will manage things better, where they will manage debt better, where they will do all these things better, they expect the economy to grow by what? 4%. Again, I'm not an economist, but I have a problem accepting that. I have a problem comprehending that. Because I would have expected that you would then say that, look, because the MPP criminally mismanaged the economy, because the Nana Bawumia government mismanaged the economy so badly, we will manage it badly. And by managing it better, then it should result in a higher GDP growth. But if your better management rather results in a lower GDP growth, again, Prof is here, probably there's something I'm missing. So Prof may educate me. Maybe I'm waiting for that education.
Don't worry, he will. I'll pose a question.
Something doesn't add. The numbers do not add up. And when common sense don't, and the numbers do not add up, then there's something there. I'm saying, probably, again, the minister will say, maybe he may educate me. But I'm reading the budget, understanding the figures that are put out. Something is missing. I'm managing the economy very, very well. I will grow at 4%. You manage there was something that it was a Galamsey-based economy. Well, it was still an economy in another way because the proceeds from the Galamsey were captured to help the economy grow. Then we are saying that, oh, fine, they will look at whatever happens, the economy grew at 5.5%. You said you will manage it better, but you manage it at a lower percentage. I don't understand that. Two, there's a fundamental question about the size of government. In public policy and public, and we'll talk about this. What is the right size of government? One of the central planks of the NDC administration was that they would reduce the cost of government. They would reduce the size of government. There was an elephant government under the Bawumia Akufo-Addo administration. There was an elephant-sized government.
You agree?
100%. No, I agree.
That expenditure...
All that is it. Especially at the Jubilee House, almost every year, you will see lawmakers, opposition lawmakers, they will present to the House the number of people in the Jubilee House. The objective is to demonstrate to people that this is how much political appointees at the Jubilee House are spending. It was one of the central planks of this government, when we come, we will reduce the size and numbers. Why do you want to reduce the numbers? So that the expenditure spent on them will reduce drastically, right? It's as simple as that. So not many people, they did that. Under the bloated elephant government of the NPP, they spent 8.5 billion in the Jubilee House.
You mean the last in
2024?
Yeah.
That elephant.
What's your point with this?
In this lean government, they are spending 11.5 billion. Again, that was in the budget. So, elephant government spends 8 billion. Lean, mean 10 government spends 11.5 billion. Something doesn't add. There's a difference of about 3 billion. Again, the numbers I might be wrong. Okay. Why is the lean government costing more than the elephant government?
Okay. Let me ask you a question.
So I want
At the beginning of the administration of the Nanado Dr. Baumia government, there were a number of special policy initiatives that were sitting at the presidency. So we have, for example, special initiatives, so the budget sits with the presidency. Then we had a number of them, including whether it's for public sector reforms, etc. They all sit at the presidency. Monitoring and evaluation. You remember Sarah Jasafu and Antonio. So, and it's good that you have expertise in public policy, but you are the professor, me, I'm not. So I'm thinking, if those allocations will be expended from the presidency, then we have initiatives that sit at the presidency in this government in its first year. It means the expenditure will have to be coming from the presidency. Second, you would also know that when it comes to such initiatives, they will mean that the public appointees at the presidency are those that you compare with the present and the past. And the last, we're told by the record, are over 300. And then also you have currently, we were told last week also by Felix Kwachofosu, that it'll still be even less than 100 because currently they just have about, 60 or something of the sort. So, aren't those considerations you need to make when you are concerned about so-called bloated budget for the presidency?
The ultimate picture is the same.
I don't understand. What picture are you
saying? The picture is that the amount of money being allocated to the Jubilee House in this proposed budget is 11.5 billion or so, whilst the one there was just. You see, I'm thinking this because it's important. Sometimes when we are communicating, when politicians are communicating, they refuse to give us this intricate qualitative and quantitative differences and analysis. They bottle everything together because if you don't do that, we get this. Right now, what I'm saying is that this is what the budget is saying. Then maybe we will get to know what the budget for. Now, this is what has been budgeted for. This is what has been budgeted for. 2. Now we go to what? The question becomes, what is a betting tax in this country? You see, from yesterday to today, we don't seem to know what qualifies as a betting tax. I've heard the finance minister, and I've read verbatim what he said. I've also heard two other experts on the issue, the former finance minister and the former minister. They make an argument, which I think ought to be understood. They are saying that when you say betting tax in Ghana, it means two different things. That's the argument they are making. That betting tax means tax on lotteries and also tax on sports betting, like sports bet, understand? That's the argument they are making. One, the one on lotteries falls under the Minister of the Interior. That is the one that Samuel Oku says he headed. And then the other one on sports betting falls with what? The finance to the GRE. He says that is what you mean when you say sports betting in Ghana. That's what they've explained, and that's what the law. The argument then is that the one that is with sports lottery and the Interior Ministry, they've not collected it. I don't know about it. Maybe they may figures to do it. But that is a qualitative difference. And now the one that is sports football betting is under GRA, Ministry of Finance. The argument is this. The argument they're making is this. In the budget, the finance minister was explicit that he was removing the tax, the 10% earnings on lotteries.
Or what is called betting tax.
So the question, it creates what I refer to as a strategic ambiguity.
By you?
But no, by reading the two things. So which is which? So the question then I ask is...
Lottery and betting, what's the difference?
I've just explained that. They are saying that the laws that there's a difference.
You are saying you're having or you're observing an ambiguity.
I'm saying that based on the two
explanations.
There are two explanations.
In English, basic.
Yes,
of
basic.
Lottery and betting is.
Yes. So one says lottery, the finance minister says, I'm moving 10% on lottery.
Your time is up.
And then there's the rest one. So the question then, we then ask it, which one is being removed? Maybe I want because of the strategic ambiguity, maybe it was a mistake. And that the subsequent lessons will clarify that we are taking it on the sports betting. Or it wasn't a mistake, it was aimed to do this.
You are the street man.
Yes.
You're the street man because you buy and sell, and then also you see what you can do with your trade and commerce business. At the end of the day, you will find that ordinary people like us, who were not being taxed our winnings on our bet apps, which, meanwhile, is directly linked to our mobile money accounts, in which whatever comes into the account, being how the account is credited and how we move money from that account, is also taxed. You experience that your earnings, whether it's sports betting, etc., are taxed. And so at the end of the day, you make all these observations. At least, do you say credit should be given to government? That if they make the explanation that betting tax has been removed, including all the other allocations that have been done, is a good thing or not? And it's good for business and for the ordinary Ghanaian. Solomon Osu.
For the ordinary Ghanaian, let me greet you.
Good morning to you, Solomon
yes,
Osu. Fantastic man.
Sharifatu Abdullah, former team president, she greets you.
Sharifatu,
I don't know where,
former team president.
Yes, of Nyankpala. I don't know where she knows you. But
maybe I'm sure it's on TV. I don't know her, please.
So we have to investigate.
I don't know her.
So why are you?
I disassociate myself. You said
It's a happily married man.
You said
What has one thing to do with the other?
You said
Sharifatu Abdullah.
Okay.
What has one thing to do with the other?
Sharifatu Abdullah, greetings to you.
Former president of Kenya.
I am sure you know me on television because I don't know you.
But what is this business of explaining yourself?
No, because this is a
Happily married man.
So this can be, ladies cannot really greet men.
We complain about dry bones.
Now my question, sir. Let's be realistic and let's be local as possible, explanatory.
So Roland, let me say that for the first time, I believe that the confidence of the Ghanaian electorate somewhat somehow halfway have been restored. That when politicians make promises during campaign time, they make the attempt of, as it were, trying to implement it. So in that sense, it's a positive development.
Positive?
It's a positive development. Let me also say that Dr. Zato should rather not hustle on some of these things, because the former finance minister, per what he did yesterday, clearly gives impetus or credence to the budget that had been read.
I don't understand. Explain to me,
he
Solomon.
endorsed the budget. If you say that a budget that seeks to remove betting tax, you come out and say that no, there wasn't any betting tax, then you realize that the finance or this administration has done something that you know very well that it will hurt your political ambition. And that is why when he came out, he came strongly against the betting tax. For me, from the Movement for Change perspective, I was of the view that the betting tax should have even been increased. I don't believe.
You don't think it should have even been removed?
Yes, I
agree with you.
I
agree on that, a personal level.
And Ato Forson also agrees with me, because initially when this betting tax idea came, when he was in opposition, he even suggested that we ban it.
I remember.
So
then later came with, alongside Kennedy Japan also said that
because if you sit where
sometimes
some of these policies are put in place to deter certain actions within society. But in terms of
that's your position.
That's my position.
Okay.
But in terms of whether there was a betting tax, there is no doubt. In fact, the former finance minister lied.
Oh,
I mean, he should stop that. You see, he comes across.
How can you say he lied?
He lied, but it's obvious it had been implemented since August of 2024. People, they were taking money from people's winnings and so on and so forth. So he couldn't have come in the public space to make such a bold statement. He shouldn't be going on that tangent. He's a fine brain that must not allow politics to dictate.
Must not allow politics to dictate his thoughts?
Yes.
As a former finance minister, he doesn't have that right.
Listen to Amin Anta when he was ASEP, when he was in charge of ASEP.
Executive director.
Executive director, and the sort of arguments, cogent ones as such. So he cannot, on the altar of politics, be destroying that hard-earned reputation. And I disagree. Again, we know budgets are estimates, you understand? Estimates of what we intend to get. In fact, the GDP that you are talking about that is now 5.7. The official estimate that the government put in place in 2024 was 3.5 or 3.1. And so, at the end of the day, they estimated to get 3.1, but they had 5.7. The mere fact that someone has said, and even with that, if you read the budget, it says at least From my understanding of English, if someone use at least 4%.
You mean after forcing?
After forcing.
Yeah, I also heard him say at least, but
at least. That's what the document has come.
But you mean if conclusions are made that you are targeting 4%?
It doesn't. That's why I say at least he is targeting 4%. So it could be 10%, but the baseline is that it will not go below 4%, and that is what I will be measuring him at the end of the year on. You get my point?
On the baseline.
On the baseline. That you gave me 4, you did below 4, so you didn't do well. By your own understanding and standards. You understand?
What does this mean? These are locations.
Yes.
The big talk.
Yes.
The expenditure.
Yes.
The scrapping of e-levy.
Yes.
The betting tax for young people who ordinary. And even, this is even we have our wives, girlfriends, everybody. If they are on the app, they're on the bed, on the betting app, etc.
Yes.
It's a general conversation.
But how can he have a girlfriend?
So the question to you,
Yes.
Solomon, also is: all these you heard yesterday and in this document, how do they improve or will improve the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian on the streets?
Roland, if you read just the allocations towards the education sector, that alone can generate more employment if it is going to be implemented and implemented well. See, you are talking about 3.5 billion going into free SHS. Free SHS includes providing food, feeding the students. That's not the case. And we must make it a policy that the food needs of these secondary schools must come from the Ghanaian.
The locality. The districts.
That is where the lacuna is. If you are feeding the people and you are going to import more social rice from outside the country, we will not get the benefit. We will be providing the employment to people outside this country. So they must make that conscious effort that farmers in this country will provide foodstuffs to these secondary schools. Again, they said they are going to print textbooks. That is the case. If we are going to give the textbook contract to local contractors, can you imagine the effect or impact on those
in Newtown?
Newtown, my people. Go to Newtown.
I print it all the time.
That is what, and this, the finance minister together with the government must go heaven and earth to ensure that the locals are given these contracts. And immediately to create employment. You understand? You say 1.7 into school feeding. It comes back. The idea of the school feeding was to improve the livelihood of farmers.
Yes. Yeah.
So right there, it is also creating.
So from the farm to the community school.
Is it not job? Is it not more money that is going to come to the poor farmer? So I believe that in terms of the allocation is good, but implementation, we must make sure that the local content aspect of it is carried out to the highest or the maximum limit. For me, once it is done, automatically the consumption of goods and services in this country will go up. And this business of people crying that we don't have money, we can't buy anything, will cease. But like I said, it's estimates. It may end up that we will not even get the money, the budgeted revenue to undertake all these projects. You understand? But when we do it, uncapping of debt fund, we have said it in our great transformational plan. Mind you, we launched the great transformational plan before the NDC and the MPP.
2023 January.
Yes. We have said that there was no sense in capping debt fund. There was no sense in capping the NHIE. There was no sense in capping the road fund. You have collected money.
So you are saying the securitization and all those policy initiatives that we're taking to go and take bonds and all that, well, shouldn't have been undertaken by the Kufa.
They just messed. I told you.
So how can you say that?
Expunge the Kufa those records. I'm happy you are wearing yellow. You are beginning to join the movement. You see, they came to destroy our lives. And that is why yesterday, if you listen to the leading figures in the MPP, all of them are fighting that, oh, we never introduced betting tax, when indeed your candidate in Takrade during the launch of the manifesto said, when given the opportunity,
which candidate?
Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, I will scrap betting tax, something that he himself brought. If it was not there, why did he say he was going to scrap it?
I don't understand.
You have brought betting tax. Now your former finance minister is saying that there wasn't anything like betting tax. You had to say you were going to scrap it. How many times did we not say that e-levy wasn't good for us? I have my money on phone. My old lady is in the village. I am transferring some to her. You say you have taken some. Why? What work did you do that you want to take some? It's a thieving tax.
Stealing tax?
It's a stealing tax.
A robbery?
Robbery.
No revenue generation activity?
The lazy man's approach. Lazy man's approach. You understand? So taxation Yes, you need taxes to develop a country, but you must also not overtax the people. Because once you overtax the people, we entrepreneurs cannot and will not be able to compete. Our products will be expensive, we will not have demand for it, and ultimately will collapse. If my business is doing well, every year I'm supposed to pay corporate tax of 25% if I'm making profit. So it is in the interest of the government of the day that businesses survive so that you can make your much needed revenue, not to overtax us so that we collapse and you don't get it.
And that is, you mean strangling is not?
Strangling, that is it.
I see. So if these are the concerns that have been raised, for example, Dr. Zato here says that we need to make sure the semantics are right. Because GRA, we have their officials even at the initial stages at some quarters of the last year saying they collected revenue for betting tax, etc. At the end of the day, we have to disaggregate what the allocations are, what the policy initiatives are, and then ask the question, is this rightly austere enough or pro-poor enough to be able to gradually take us out of the woods? Remember, we have restructured our debts externally and then domestically. Professor.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. I think the budget tries to navigate a delicate balance between correcting imbalances. Imbalances here, we are talking about what the government has inherited from, let's say, the previous administration. Governance is a continuum. Whilst it tries to set a path for the future. It's very difficult under such circumstance to have everything the way one would have expected in the budget, especially in terms of how allocations should go and all of that. There is, and here I'll situate my conversation within the context of what the fiscal situation was at the end of December 2024, right? So if you look at the target for 2024, the revised target, we missed the inflation target. We missed fiscal deficit target. The fiscal deficit target was 4.2% of GDP. We did 7.9%. The gap is very wide. We're supposed to have a primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP. We missed that. But then, of course, when it comes to GDP, you can see that the growth was higher than the target. But of course, you can understand why that is also the case. And you can see from the 2025 budget that there is an attempt to move away from extractive-driven growth.
Why?
If you look at the first 3 quarters of 2024, the growth trajectory, and you look at the last quarter, you already see a deep decline, right? So last quarter 2024, growth was actually 3.5%. Okay, so when you look at the average from beginning to the end, then you are arriving at 5.7%. But that is growth that is also heavily driven by mining and quarrying, right? My suspicion is that probably the pressure that was brought to bear on government in the run-up to the 2024 election, fight illegal mining and all of that, might have also slowed down production and all of that. But that is not growth that I think we can celebrate. And let's put that within context. That's not growth we can celebrate.
Why?
Because, in fact, in the last 15 years or so, 20% of our GDP growth, we got it from mining and quarrying. If you look at the data, that growth did not come along with decent job creation. So that is not job-rich growth. What we should be looking at going forward is the quality of the growth, and that growth should be driven by the labor-intensive sub-sectors of the economy, right? So if you look at the sectorial, if you look at agriculture, if you look at industry, manufacturing, and the rest of them, I think we should see that these are the anchors of that particular growth and all of that. Now, again, if you look at the growth of 4% target this year, it's an import from the IMF supported program. That's a growth IMF had programmed for us and all of that. You will see that also happening in 2023.
So our hands are tied?
To some extent, but I believe that with improved data as the government measures set in and the rest of them, I mean, there's a possibility that the growth could be revised.
Because the former finance minister and his army, they have a problem with that you set such a growth target.
Well,
because you cannot say, Prof, that we were not under IMF last year.
Yeah, but you should look at what happened with the last quarter growth of 2024. We should learn from that, right? And see whether that is also giving a signal as to what we should expect going forward. But I think overall, there were not many negative surprises in the 2025 budget. And the reason I'm saying is good, because largely it mirrors the expectations of people, especially in moving the economy from taxation to production. The decision to abolish those taxes, I think, resonate with majority of Ghanaians. And that offers immediate relief to households and businesses. These are incentives to stimulate consumption, promote growth, and the rest of them. Then again, if you look at the uncapping, right, I think that is a very good intervention that government.
It's been criticized. Why should it? Why should it be a good initiative?
These levies and all were set up with intended purpose. We should stick to that, and then also ensure that there is efficiency when those funds have been allocated. If you look at National Health Insurance Levy, GET Fund, and the rest of them, and you see the administrative component rising relative to the core, apart from what is allocated to them, you will see an increasing percentage of that going to administrative rather than the core service. We need to look at that. So,
which is financing, education, infrastructure, etc.
Yes, and when it comes to National Health Insurance Authority, in terms of paying claims, if you look at when it was started, they were doing 80%, but now it's been sliding. It means that the administrative component, I mean, like somebody says that you go to maybe Cocoa Board, and maybe Cocoa Board has more cars than cocoa beans and the rest of them. The core mandate has to be respected. So I think that is how I see that there's a delicate balance. And then if you look at arrears from state-owned enterprises and all of that, okay, you want to be able to situate the budget to be able to address that whilst you offer hope going forward. But overall, you can see a reduction in overall government expenditure. On one hand, that may not suggest like totally good news, right? Because you need to spend to stimulate growth. But I believe that this is a temporary measure, more or less, as the minister described as a short-term therapy, sort of, so that you lay the foundation for growth. But I think there are other things that the government will have to look at. I was looking to see more clarity on the 24-hour economy. Forgive me, I've not been able to understand the 24-hour economy. It's my fault. It's not their fault. It's my fault. But I think that there should be clarity.
Position. And you're entitled to the position. So
there
don't
should be
apologize
clarity
for it, yes.
on that, because it's an important intervention for stakeholders to run with private sector and the rest of them. I take consolation the fact that the policy position will be laid before Parliament. This will be discussed and all of that. And then we see where the critical success factors are within this 24-hour economy, where should we do well if we want to move forward and all of that, because the expectation and the desire is that we want to make progress.
On the streets, you go on social media, young people, productive age, they're happy, they're joyous, etc. But they also want jobs to be created. These are locations that have been made. And if we get the right revenue and then the right resources or wherever we're going to, whether from donor partners, etc., we need to make sure we create the jobs. Where do you think that in this budget you are giving the hope that you can tell your constituents that jobs will be created for them over time?
Well, Roland, but before that, Doug, I like your energy. You know, somebody was asking me if you are the one who contested the Sisala is the MPP parliamentary. Okay.
We've clarified that. Why do you bring that?
Someone was asking, because I think his brother also contested as secretary.
These things will always come up.
I don't understand.
Someone was asked whether he's the brother who contested as a regional secretary.
Brother was your,
your junior brother contested as the regional secretary of the MPP.
Yes.
And then you contested at the Sisala.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So MPP. Okay, all right.
For context,
that's fine.
right?
For context. I'm just
No, it's not for context. It's mischief. It's mischief. But I'm used to this. That's what I'm saying. I'm used to it. I'm used to this. I'm used to this. So
that's just by the way. But you see, before I answer the strict question about job creation in this budget, I think that it's important that we highlight the fact that this budget was so humane. And I continue to be marveled at the attention, for example, that is given to the very vulnerable in our community. I mean, in this budget, sanitary pads for young ladies.
These are some members are going to get some stipends.
Yes, I mean, the victims of the tidal wave disaster and all of that. Those are very, very, key things that you cannot gloss over. And when Doc talks about the growth, I think that Prof did a very good job in breaking it down. It's always important. I'm not an economist, but the little that I know about the economics is that when growth is reported, you must first of all ask, whose growth is it? Whose growth is it? And, what is the cost of that growth? These questions are important in appreciating the nature of growth. So you have the answers given that the growth is from mining, it's from construction, it's from trade. Now you ask yourself, mining, who does that growth benefit? Multilateral agencies? At what cost? Illegal mining? Then destruction of the environment and water bodies. Then you can properly, appreciate this growth. Then you talk about construction and trade. What are the drivers? In fact, we are told that the drivers there is price stability. I'm not an economist, but for example, they tell you that in the area of construction, it's not as if we have done more construction, but the cost of construction has simply gone up. And as a result, it impacts the growth of the GDP. So if, for example, cement prices were lower and they have increased, if iron rods prices were lower and they have increased, all of this will impact the growth in the construction sector. But at what cost is that growth if you are assessing it and if you are reporting it? It's important that we appreciate all of this. So when you have a government that says we'll do better and it is projecting, a lower growth as the lowest, I mean, they are saying at least, that means that is not what they are expecting. But they are saying even if we don't grow at all, we'll grow at this percentage, about 4.7. Now, it tells you that they have answered the question of whose growth is it and what costs. And that is why you have this government saying, for example, that we are going to be very strict on galamsey. And so, yes, we may still see growth in mining, but it will be constructive and sustainable growth. It will not be that destructive growth that we may have seen. When you also talk about getting more from the multilateral agencies, like increasing the sustainability, what do you call it?
Growth and
sustainability levy from 1% to about 1.5% to about 3%. That is in our interest on mining. Yes, that is growth that you can really celebrate from mining if that is implemented and leads to growth. So clearly it tells you that a lot of thinking went into this. Then he talks about the Office of Government Machinery and the allocations that have been done there. Roland, I just took the budget statement and you can see, I mean, without even getting explanation from the Finance Ministry yet, I see, for example, that if you compare the 2023 budget to this one, capex alone for the Office of the Government Machinery is about 637 million.
But he's talking about last year. Because he says it should be a continuum.
No, I mean, last year we really didn't have a budget. I mean, I'm talking about the 2024 budget. If you compare this budget to the 2024 budget,
because you mentioned
that's what I mean. Okay, sorry. So 2024 budget, capex alone for this year under the Office of Government Machinery is about 636 million Ghana cedis. That is construction, things that will infrastructure development. If you compare it to the 2024 budget, it was only about 2 million. I mean, What was higher was other goods and services, 12 million. And you remember we used to complain about the chop because those are the low-hanging fruits. Those are where the contracts and the procurement, goods and services under the office of the
items.
Yes, that's just the basic. Then secondly, Roland, you see that the seed capital for the Women Development Bank is captured under the office of the government machinery in this particular case.
The
it's
50
there.
plus million.
The 51 million Ghana cedis is there. Then again, if you look at government communication machinery, it has now absorbed the Information Services Department, the GBC, Ghanaian Times, Graphic. All of these used not to be under office of the government machinery. It has been absorbed under it right now.
Is it part of the initiative to reduce the size of government?
Absolutely. So it's rationalization.
So now you don't have a whole ministry.
If these were going to stand alone, they would have had budgets perhaps that will exceed what they will be given under the office of the government machinery. So, I mean, without even speaking to the finance ministry and those behind it, if you look at the figures and look at the allocations.
This explanation,
yes.
If you look at the headline,
yes, you will go exactly. But I'm saying that I'm sure there are even more detailed explanation that you can get. But I'm just telling you, just around this table, looking at this and comparing it to the 2024 budget, you can see the sense in why perhaps this will be higher than the 2024 allocation. But I think that we will give more.
There's a concern that there's no.
Now you talk about job creation.
Yes,
I mean
because 24 economic policy for agriculture, we've seen what the allocations are in excess.
Yeah.
It also means that targeted policies like small-scale poultry in communities, etc., would need to be then fine-tuned and explained further. And I think those are some of the issues and reasons why Dr. Zato or it will be the former finance minister saying that, look, you don't have to hoodwink the people. How do you explain that?
You see, I mean, again, look at the allocations that have been made for the apprenticeship program, the National Apprenticeship Program. 300 million Ghana cedis allocated for that program. This is going to lead to training of our, untrained and unemployed, young people in this country. You look at the allocation for the Jumawura program, 100 million Ghana cedis. Those are all job creation, programs that you can count on. The CODES program, 100 million Ghana cedis again allocated for the National CODES program. So job creation in the IT sector, in the skills development sector, and also, in the agri sector are all very well catered for in this budget. Then when you talk about also creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive, it is to give them that opportunity to also expand and absorb more people. Look at the big push, for example, and the 13 billion that is allocated there. It's going to lead to a lot of activity. And from the road sector, I'm excited. And I'm sure my minister too is. Exactly. Because, I mean, a lot of the big push projects are really road-related projects. And so it's going to bring about some ease when it comes to the burden that many contractors today are faced with, and also many motorists are faced with, because it will help us construct some of the very important roads across the country that will link cities and link regions better. Again, the uncapping of GET Fund, is going to make available about 4 billion Ghana cedis just by that policy decision. And remember, the free SHS budget...
It's been criticized. There's Abna Sari, who is a former deputy finance minister. They've criticized the NDC administration case of forcing...
Roland, let me tell you something. It is a gluttonous finance minister who will want all the funds at his or her disposal. So he decides, based on where you come from, your face, to do an allocation. And that is what led in some cases to some of the malfeasance that is reported all over in the manner that the previous government handled things. You have a finance minister who says that, look, 80% of the district assembly's common fund should be released directly to the district assemblies. That is somebody who does not want to accumulate authority and power and doesn't want to be bossy. He says 80% should go to the assemblies so that the local people, district chief executives, assembly members will sit together and decide what projects are more important to them at their local level. And then again, provide the assembly members with some incentive to even work harder. So you make an allocation for assembly members to receive allowances. Then you look at the Get Fund, as I was saying. When it is uncapped, free SHS, the budget alone is about 3 billion. Now we will uncap it, and you immediately make 4 billion available to the education sector. Imagine the infrastructure explosion that will bring about in that sector. Road fund, uncapped, immediately making 2.8 billion Ghana cedis available for road maintenance and other important road constructions. So I think that all of these, as I have mentioned, will eventually impact jobs in this country, because these activities will not be done by robots. It's going to be done by people and companies and institutions.
Critical and more observational about these allocations. How would you hold government more responsible to be able to implement these? Because they are very critical, so that, because already annually we have issues like perhaps maybe corruption. You have constantly the Auditor General telling you that in excess of over 11 billion is always not accounted for over the last couple of years, etc. And then you say that these need to be monitored in such a way that your promises would have to go with the actuals or the delivery. Dr. Zato.
Thank you. I want to start on a good note. On a personal note, Honorable Deputy Minister of Roads, you are here. I'm glad you are here. Please, there's a strategic route in Ghana that can lead to what? Lowering the prices of kenke, lowering the price of banku, and even lowering the price of bread in this country.
Which road?
That road is the Hamele, Tumu, Chuchuliga route. Sisala land is the maize basket of this country. You know that. Most of the food, all those right now, probably eating kenke, probably drinking
you said
cocoa.
This last week.
Yes, but he's the
there are many roads.
He's the deputy minister. Okay, that's my home. That's the road I take to my hometown.
Okay.
He's the deputy minister. Please,
Tumu.
No. It's Wa Heng Tum Chuchulega road. Okay. It is the west road in Ghana. You can even say it's a road, but it also the road that passes through the maize belt of this country. It is where, if we do this road can be done. It will directly affect the prices of kenke, it reduce them, the prices of banku, the price of wakpole, the price of wokpole. In fact, this road also has serious critical national security implications. I've not heard anything about the road in the budget. That particular road probably is somewhere there, but it was mentioned in the MPP manifesto, but it is missing in this budget. My prayer and expectation is that the Deputy Minister of Road is here. So please, again, it's not just because that is my hometown or that's where I'm from. It is the fact that that road is there. Now, so the people of this place are listening. And also, if you are talking politically, if you look politically, you've won all those seats. You've won Sisala, West Sisala East, all the way there. So it is.
You didn't win.
I'm saying. It is there. So, Honorable, please, that road. So I'm advocating for that road because it is that road that is important, very important to me. So that is it. But the question then we can then ask another big question.
How do you hold them more responsible?
What does it happen? First of all, one of the central planks of the NDC manifesto was the 24-hour economy. And the Prof just made the point. I'm still left as confused about that policy as it was first announced.
Oh my goodness.
We were told there will be specific tax incentives for businesses under the 24-hour economy. We were told that this, in fact, you see, the State of the Nation address, we're all to the wait. The budget will clarify, the budget will will operationalize it. It hasn't. Again, the Prof has read it. I still have reservations about what animal is the 24-hour economy, when is it coming on, when are we going to see? It's still very important. Secondly, the Women's Bank. It was a very important issue, and we just celebrate International Women's Bank. Now, there's an issue. The amount released for the bank is about 51.
Are you saying that the 24-hour economic policy, you don't understand the policy explanation?
I'm just saying that
it's not possible to replicate it.
I'm not saying it's not possible. Politics is the art of the possibility. Okay. I will never say anything is not possible in politics. It's the art of the possibility.
What are you saying,
My point is that we were promised that it will be made clearer, it will be operationalized in this budget, that the business incentives and whatever the way they will I didn't see anything. Probably it's hidden somewhere. I don't know. I've not seen it. So what? So if you were a businessman, you are asking yourself, what is in this? You will not see. Secondly, there are farmers in Tumu, in Wellambele, in Kong, in Sakala, and all those preparing to go to farm now. I haven't seen the government plans for fertilizers. I haven't seen the government's plan for improved seedlings. We decide for plowing. I haven't seen it. So if you are either a young or an old farmer now sitting down planning on how to do this, I haven't seen it.
Allocation have been made for the agri sector.
Again, it has not. It's a broader allocation, and you understand. If you put everything in a broader allocation without mentioning specific things that are happening, it's a government budget. Anything can happen, can go somewhere. So I'm saying that these things will affect the price of kenke. They will affect the price of banku. Right now, they are not. That is why I don't think the price of kenke has reduced much. Thirdly, the NDC manifesto talk about the Women's Bank. Very good idea. I have no problem with that. But the amount released for the seed is 51 million. Now, Prof, we understand that I've been told, maybe I don't know, that the minimum amount needed for a bank in Ghana is about 400 million.
That's the capitalization.
The capitalization every month. We've just been given only 51 million. So my question is, what happens? So I still don't know. Maybe probably there's still some explanation to be given to us. When do we get to that to capitalize it? Or are we telling the women to wait? We've given you sanitary pads. We've given you this, and as for the bank, I don't know. One of the important taxes that were supposed to be removed was the COVID tax. We've said that the government was very explicit in how they are going to remove, what's the name of that thing? E-levy. Very explicit, no ambiguity. We said that there's an amount of ambiguity when it comes to a debating tax. But once the budget was silent on the COVID tax, it says that it will steady and move. My question is, will the COVID tax and its associated taxes also be removed in this 2025 budget, or is pushed down somewhere? Okay. Because the question is that... The
explanation that has been given is that...
we will steady it.
So we have the way the VAT is charged. It is a component of the 21+%. So if you want to remove one component out of the lot, it also means that within the budgetary year, you come back to Parliament, there's an act, then we do the amendments thereof.
They have to come to Parliament.
So it means...
Unless maybe
So my point is, no, write it down, like I did. So the point is that there has to be a legislative process to remove those taxes, right? Now, you are activating those legislative processes to remove e-levy, right? You are also activating the legislative processes
to remove part of the VAT component. Like, for example, when you go to the shop.
But nevertheless, to remove it, you have to go through a legislative process. That process has not been activated. So my point is that...
Do you think that if there are legislative processes to undertake amendments, and in this instance, you look at the Public Financial Management Act and the way when the appropriations are done, the approvals are made in Parliament within the budgetary year, you could make those amendments to, let's say, a tax like VAT, which will include NHIL and all that. You don't think that the finance minister is legitimate to say that in the course of the financial year, we are looking at how to make those amendments to remove COVID tax? Is a good response.
What I've come to realize is that politicians, you give them a yard, they will run away. And that's what I'm telling you. So I'm saying that if he really wanted to do this...
Are you saying the politicians lie?
I'm not saying they lie, I've not said that. Okay. I'm saying that if he really wanted to remove this tax within this year, he would have activated the legislative processes. Those processes have not been activated. So the chances are that they could go for the whole year and the taxes will still be there. So one, you promised to remove 3 taxes. One is explicit, is gone. The other one, there's some level of ambiguity. Maybe today he said he may just clarify it and then there will be nothing. I'll give him that. But the budget is silent on how or when exactly to remove COVID tax. So there's a legitimate concern there. Thirdly, this tax also talked about what? The reduction in import duty on vehicles and industrial equipment. That's on page 3 of the NDC manifesto or somewhere there. I didn't see it. You are an investor.
You didn't see what?
The reduction in the import duty on vehicles and equipment. You are an entrepreneur, and this may be of interest to entrepreneurs who want to other things, who were also complaining that taxes are too high. So the question then is, this is exactly it has not been done. Now, if you further go on, there are still a lot of things that we can begin to see what is happening. Okay, look. There's a solar electrification for rural energy. There is a special financing for electric vehicles and green economy. I think that is why we had the green energy economy to come again. So if I begin to say, if you say promise made, promise delivered, then I have a questions. Promise made on e-levy, promise to be delivered. I agree. Promise made on betting tax, some still. Promise made on COVID levy, promise not delivered. Promise made to reduce government costs at Jubilee House, promise made, still not delivered. You talk about the Women Middle Bank, you talk about 24-hour economy, and you talk about a diaspora bond for development. On page 5 of the NDC manifesto, they said there will be a diaspora bond for development. I didn't say.
I don't understand. The manifesto is for how many years?
The
manifesto is for how many years?
I don't know. It's for the NDC term. It's term.
Yes. Implemented program.
Thank you. So I'm asking you. It was a manifesto that's supposed to cover their 4 years.
How many years?
The 4 years. For their 4 years. But again,
but you're raising them as
I'm raising them that these are things they wanted to see. So the question them, I'm beginning to ask. See, remember, I came from the position that if budget is a value statement, it's about your values. So this way, and then you prioritize your values. That's what I've just said. The biggest value to me is the Wahen Tumu road. And I'm happy that the minister is here. After this, I will still follow you to your car and beg you to make that road.
The Wasola road, is it part of your...
Yeah, actually, if I'm going home, I just start from here all the way to...
I have a letter here, the Messrs. Maripoma. I think they are constructing the motorway. There's an acceptance offer letter here.
You know that road actually passes to the president's hometown of Bole, Bamboy, and all that place and go. It is one of the West roads.
Doctors have to relax. Doctors have to relax.
Oh, I'm very relaxed. No, he's not going to solve it. The road, it will be solving there.
Go ahead. The many roads that we have
Deputy Minister, please. So I have an award letter here. Rehabilitation of Wasola Road. And construction of the 6.5 dual carriageway, letter of acceptance to the managing director, Messrs. Maripoma. I use the motorway 3-4 times in a day, so I know that they are constructing the motorway. They're a local company, of course. They have experts working for them. But I'm saying that is a part of the road that you're talking about.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That is part of the president's hometown road.
Okay.
It needs to be extended.
I was very specific
all the way
in the
to
road. No, this road, any road can lead you to, but this road will end at Hamley.
So the one I am talking about... you are unhappy about the budget?
No, of course, I've told you there are some good things I like. I like the fact that the budget is building on a very strong and robust economy from 2024. I like the fact that they demonstrate very well. There are good things I like.
Would you say, my question, gentlemen, would you say in sum, the questions about why there were no explicit statements on removal of COVID levy, however, there were explicit statements on removal of e-levy straight away, removal of betting tax, etc., which has gotten all the rousing welcome, etc., in the public space. Would you say that the highs are more than some of these concerns that have been raised by, for example, Dr. Zato and the critics of the budget?
I agree that the highs are more than the lows, and I believe that Dr. Zato and the MPP must not have the moral courage to be.
Why not?
They don't have the moral
Why not
courage.
so?
I mean, if you have destroyed the Ghanaian economy, if you have left a very bad economy. I mean, yesterday all that the finance minister came to do was to manage debt. You have left the country. Look, we have not spoken about the fact that 2027 and 2028 we are going to pay huge debt.
Yeah.
And that is going to be problematic. So I even
26, 27.
27, 28.
Particularly 2027, 2028. From the domestic debt restructure and then the external.
2030, 2031, 32. Yeah.
But 2027, 2028. And you know why they did that? Because they know very well that these are the 2 crucial years towards elections. You understand? So if you're a government, during that period, you cannot engage in massive infrastructure. You have talked about a 10 billion push. That 10 billion push, you have only started with about $900 million. This is your first year. Second year, I'm not too sure you're going to get anything more than $5 billion. Guess what? In your third year, you have huge debt to pay. So how do you even invest in your big push? So you're
saying that it's rationalizing?
Rationalizing, so clearly it is not. It's a good thing. The highs are more than the lows. Again, there is no denying fact that we have collected betting tax, and I'm showing you or giving you data from the GRA itself. Between 2023 and 2024, the state collected 208 million cedis from the betting tax. This is from the GRA, and I can give you the.
No, I've not denied that.
No, but why, the point is that you are saying.
Please don't disrupt.
You are saying that. You are saying that.
He's making a rhetoric.
You understand? So,
Okay.
betting tax has been collected. We don't know what they use it for. Again, I was also a bit disappointed when they deferred the COVID levy and also the compound calculation of VAT, because it's one of the things that is killing businesses. But I saw the minister make the statement that they are going to put up a task force to look into the matter. My only disagreement, Prof, them here are capable of doing some of these things. If you tell me that you're going to bring technical assistance from IMF, that word IMF I don't want to hear.
But we are under IMF.
But the point is that if you are going to remove COVID tax or decouple NHIA and then what's the VAT, you don't need an IMF. We have local experts. These are some of the things that create local economy. The consultants get businesses, they do it, they get money. By extension, we do extended family system. They also spread it, and wealth is spread around. You are bringing an IMF person to come and do a simple matter of removal of COVID levy? No, I disagree. It shouldn't go there, and it shouldn't take that much time. Again, I am also having difficulty with the 24-hour explanation. I will tell you why. Because the point is that 24-hour economy must be a course emanating from a good governance perspective. If your macroeconomic environment is stable, you understand?
Macro.
If your interest rates are down, if people have disposable income ready to spend, if I am into the frying of kalawule, I know that people will be buying it throughout the day or throughout the 24 hours. Why would I go and sleep? I will invest more. If the pops, why people are patronizing, they play till the next day. So it is about
it's a demand-driven policy.
Absolutely. So I don't know how you are going to fashion any program in this case.
So, Mr. Solomon.
Yes.
So can I ask then a question,
yes,
which you can indicate whether it's legitimate or not?
Yes.
That you need to then make sure that you are able to stabilize.
Yes.
Then you commence the initiative.
Absolutely.
Because as we all know.
Yes.
And it's good that we have people who have studied in 24-hour economic
yes,
policy practicing countries.
Yes. He's coming from
Canada.
In Canada. with a bad road network we have to do 24-hour economy.
Canada?
Yes. I
Dr. Zato, Canada.
Yes.
So I think that
it's a Canadian.
From my supposition,
I'm not a Canadian.
I'm sure his children are there, but
I shouldn't talk. Okay,
the politicians all the children are outside. So, but at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are able to look at your fiscals and on the monetary policy side.
I mean, Roland,
then you create a stability for the forex and all the things that
sure,
you need. And then you tighten your expenditure.
Sure.
And then when you are stable, you create the demand. Is that not?
Absolutely.
And for you as an entrepreneur,
that is what
do you think, whether you have the explanation or you've seen it or not in this budget, it gives you at least the hope that it will happen?
No, I see the government attempting to stabilize the macroeconomic environment, and which is a good thing. So at the back of that, then we can move into the other areas of expanding the economy. As we speak, the promise that was made by the Greater Accra Regional Minister, I'm not even sure she's going to fulfill, providing us with what? Street lights within 50 days. A common issue of street lights, we are struggling. And to be able to undertake a comprehensive 24-hour economy, we need energy. And the only reason why we are unable to provide all these street lights is that even the household consumption, we are struggling. You understand? So let's tackle our energy needs, our infrastructure needs, and it will just fall in line. Say, seek ye the kingdom of God first, and the rest shall follow. The kingdom of God in this is the macroeconomic environment.
Yeah, everybody was expecting Bible quotes yesterday. It didn't
happen.
But it's good. But it's good that you brought
I provided it.
So in business school, they say that, well, in corporate governance, you're also looking at how you grow your business. You look at the low-hanging fruits. Do you say that, well, from what you teach as a business school, the low-hanging fruits have been looked at, and that gives us the base to be able to say that we can perhaps do better by half year?
Yeah, so I think the budget was smart, and also serves to consolidate the confidence that investors, Ghanaians, have reposed in the government. I think there isn't any ambiguity about COVID-19 health levy, it is stated clearly in the budget that they will abolish the COVID-19 levy. Because all of this is part of that VAT spectrum, they are looking at re-engineering the VAT system because the decoupling and all of that has distorted that. So they've listed that in there that they will abolish the COVID-19. They will also merge the street levies with the standard VAT rate. Because what we've done actually is that in our books, we created the false impression that our standard VAT rate is probably the lowest in Africa, 15%. But then when you add the street levies, Get Fund, and the rest of them, you are looking at something more than 21%. And we had indicated that we need to merge that. And my recommendation would be that we peg it at 18% or below, right? And along that, COVID would go and all of that. So I think there isn't any ambiguity from that perspective.
All right.
Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to say is that if you look at social protection interventions, the increase in the allocations and all of that, I think is very good in terms of the vulnerable and the rest of them. The only thing that I want to say, and I believe that the context also shapes this, is that certainly growth of 4% is not sufficient, right, to lift millions of Ghanaians out of poverty. And then also going forward, we have to make the budget outcomes people-focused. We have to be clear that if within the 12 months or so or 9 months of this implementation, we are looking at what the poverty numbers are, where we want to be at the end of 2025, how we are narrowing inequality and all of that. And my advice also would be is that sometimes job creation interventions are shrouded in training and capacity building and the rest of that. That's not job creation, right?
You mean apprenticeship and all those things?
Let's be very careful, because if you examine the NDC's budget 2014, 2015, 2016, and you see allocations to training, even across ministries and all of that, sometimes it may not be efficient and all of that. So let's be very careful that we are clear on what the growth drivers are, so that our limited resources, we make sure we allocate them so that growth can come from those areas and the rest of. So I think that is how we want to do it. I also think that, yes, you know, we've expressed skepticism about the 24-hour economy. They should not take it that we are opposed to the 24-hour economy. Skepticism is a professional conduct. It's good. They should take it as a feedback to shape the policy. Because sometimes a leader will say something that may not make sense. But you know what? If they're able to bring clarity to bear and rally the people behind, great.
All right.
You know,
so you and Dr. Zato on the same line with that.
I just wanted to share with you portions of the excerpts of the budget that touched on agriculture and the fact that the farming season is around. Doc didn't hear those parts. It says, Mr. Speaker, government will roll out the Transformational Grains Development Project to prioritize the production of maize, rice, soya, and soya beans, the roots and tubers, and for cassava, plantain, and yam, the Vegetable Development Project. And then there's also for tomato, pepper, and all of that. And it goes on to say that in line with the vision to streamline agricultural activities for greater productivity and better returns on investment, the ministry will establish 50 units farmer service centers in all regions and strengthen the technical capacities of machinery operators to support farmers, creating a one-stop hub for affordable agricultural services, machinery equipment, and few technologies. And it talks about the quantum of fertilizer procured. It's all in there somewhere. So maybe if he takes his time, he'll look at it. But the minister also said that this time around, they are going to allow sector ministers to come to Parliament to present the details of what they have to roll out, which we need to pay attention
so we'll hold them accountable.
Then on the 24-hour economy, Roland, if you notice, the minister again said that, see, we just don't want to rush things and tick the boxes. He says that, look, Parliament will be briefed on the policy document very soon. Okay. He also said that there's a need for us to repeal some of our acts, our existing legislation, like the Labour Act, Government Investment Promotion Act, that all of this will be tabled in Parliament. So it is not as if it is forgotten, but if it must be done, like we all agree it must be done, then it must be done well. And so there's a need to hasten slowly in implementing it. I mean, for example, when he talks about the VAT issue, please, just 1 minute. I mean, the VAT case again. it is important. It must be removed. But the minister talks about, and Prof will agree, the misalignment with our VAT system as it was done or handled by the previous government, and the need for us to study how to realign and redirect it and refocus it so that it will make sense. Its implementation will make sense. Yes. So he says he has set up a task force, for example, to look at how they can disintegrate, you know, these other flat rates, standard rates that have all been
that
have just confused our VAT structure. So he has set up a task force to look at how they can disintegrate all of this and then recommend how to remove this one so that it is in conformity.
All right, Alasan Suhini, I allowed you because you're a deputy minister.
Let us find time and talk about the group sustainability levy. Okay. That will impose.
We'll find time. Alasan Suhini
on these big mining companies. Look, if you look at how much they are making from gold. And how much the
have you been approved yet? Have you been approved yet?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I'll be sworn in later today.
Okay,
so I want to be sworn in later today.
Okay, so
all right.
You have to be sworn in deputy minister for roads and highways. Dr. Zato, thank you very much as well. Solomon Owusu, thank you very much as well.
Please, that road. I can listen to me. Please, that road.
And then,
please, I beg you.
And then, Professor Bokpin, thank you. You usually don't come to the studios because Legon to hear Charlie sometimes so we thank you so much. Yeah, Traffic Day Inside. Now, I've been allowed to read some messages, so I'll do that as quickly as possible. Caesar Bagale, wishing you all the best for the day as well. The European Union provided a grant of 35 million euros to the government of Ghana for the rehabilitation and maintenance of 670 kilometers of feeder and farm access roads in the Upper West region. Now, the road construction under the NDC, the Sisala Road, was started in 2016 when the MPP won. It stalled. I remember Mawum's, I think, is there a contractor called Mawum's? Yeah. Okay, so Mawum's equipment are still on the Tumu-Navrongo Road. Do you see them, Dr. Zato? You don't see them? The reason the MPP lost woefully in that area is because they allowed the roads to stall. And so that's the main reason. However, it needs to be done by the NDC this time around. I have Bruce Foko. Good morning. He says, our roads are terrible. I agree with Dr. Zato. The least said about roads, the better. Roland, it's a pity. And then we have other comments coming as well. Okay, let me read this one. Guy G says, may I know, Professor Bokpin, if he says you seem to be supporting the government in some of your views as well. Anyway, great ideas and submissions by entire panelists. Regards to my good brother, Solomon Owusu, Guy G. Cantonment Accra. And then also, we have a couple more views as well. But for all those who have joined us on social media, we're grateful. Money. I see Jifa Gomashi also said we have also an allocation of 200 million, yes, to support the victims of the tidal wave. We said that as well. Ketu South. It says I made Suhini also say Keta. Well, I understand. It's all along that belt. Ketu, right? Ketu South. Well, so we'll be correcting that as well. But thank you, gentlemen. Fantastic submissions so far. Please, thank you also online, all the rest of you for sharing our views. We're grateful. And Mr. Kofi Nyantichi, I wish you well for the day as well. Looking for the perfect spot to unwind, enjoy great vibes, and also feast on amazing food. Look no further because there's a lounge called L Lounge in Sakumono. Now, it is and should be your ultimate hangout destination. So make sure you come to L Lounge Sakumono. On Wednesdays, they have the games night. It comes with free wings, you know, the wings with every drink or cocktail that you want. On Fridays, they have the mixed mingle nights, great music, amazing performances, unlimited cocktails. And on Sundays, they have the traditional buffet, which is accompanied with live music. So it is that time that you enjoy authentic local dishes with soothing live band. So make sure you locate them. L Lounge, Sakumano, Community 14, Reggie Manuel Gray Estate. You can call them for reservations on 055-524-2836. And we are all grateful. Now, this one also is coming from Edem, and please, Brenda, let me read this one from Edem, and then I will let you be. He says, Roland, no MPP person should be giving any audience when they try to criticize this budget. Well, I think they, it's just Edem in Pando, and we're taking a break. Please, we have Sami Jemfi who will be coming after sports. We have an exclusive interview with him. We'll ask him questions about the good ball. You know, you go travel around, you see Galamsey still being done. And so why are we going to making sure that the right things are done? And then also all the things in the budgets, exclusive right here on TV3 New Day. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.